Innate intelligence. This is the quintessential fact that separates the chiropractic profession from the majority of all other professions, is that we talk about the body's intelligence to heal itself from within. In the other professions, such as the allopaths, the people who treat symptoms, what they look at is they say they can take the symptom away by cutting out or drugging it to death. But what they actually look at is when somebody gets better, they say it's nature or it's God or something else. They don't recognize, and a lot of them don't, the intelligence within the body, because the body is viewed as a machine. That is completely different than what the chiropractic profession and what the holistic and vitalistic professions look at how the body heals. So the two different paradigms are that one, the body is a machine and the body is just made of parts, and you do what's called a deductive reasoning, where you look at it from down. So you make it really small, small, small. You deduce to the smallest parts what's going on, and then you say, well, if I understand how this part works, then I can put it all back together and it should be fine. The problem with that is this, is, at least from what I know, we haven't invented a way to put the body back together and make it come back from nothing. We haven't been able to take somebody from the dead and bring them right back out. And that's the problem, is that vitalistic force, that force that animates everything and keeps you alive, is innate intelligence. In our profession, we say that it is a subsect of universal intelligence. And what universal intelligence is the intelligence that runs everything in the universe. It makes every law stay the way it is. Because if we look at the way the universe works, it's all ordered and it works the way it does because it has laws. What controls that? And that's that universal intelligence. Some people akin it to God. It's the system that keeps everything going. A subsect of that is the universal intelligence in the body, and that is called innate intelligence. That intelligence is the intelligence that runs and animates every fact of who you are, every aspect of who you are. It's the intelligence that's only goal is to have you live between 120 to 140 years of age. That's the goal of universal intelligence in the body, which is innate intelligence. So that intelligence has to be communicated somehow. So in chiropractic and in neurological based care, that communication is through the neurological pathways. This is another subsect of where we deviate from the medical profession, is that we look majorly, or the major places, we look at the neurology, whereas the medical profession is majorly going to look at the blood. So if you look at what they test blood things. They're not looking, majority of them, 99% of them, are not looking functionally at how are you reacting in this point in time. They're looking at how is your blood and what is your blood telling us. And that's okay, but the fact is that the neurology, the nerves are firing at 198 miles per hour. Or no, kilometers per hour. That speed of change is so quick that it's going to cause a bigger change and bigger reaction than what we know is possible. When we look at the concepts that they give us, and the truth is the first 3 years of chiropractic school is medical school. All we learn is medical everything, diagnostics, pathology, histology, embryology, you name the ology and I've learned it. And the thing was, when you're taught it, if you're not taught to look at the body as being an intelligent thing that can control and is making the adaptation purposefully, that even cancer is a purposeful adaptation. And that's hard for a lot of people to understand. And I can deviate on this for a second. The reason why it happens is our body has been in such a state of fight or flight or sympathetics that literally the immune system starts doing whatever it wants. And when it does whatever it wants and it's not under the control of the nerve system, because the nerve system is literally burnt out, then it can't fight off those bad cells, aka a mutated cell, which is cancer. So the adaptation is that the nerve system is literally burnt out and been degraded, that's led to cancer. So to get back to the body and you look how it communicates, that neurology is communicating so quick, or the nerve signal is so quick, that it causes the change instantaneously. When we look at the other ways of looking at things, like what we were taught in school, is that a hormone hit another thing and hit another thing and hit another thing. To akin that, that's like saying an orange thrown into a swimming pool will instantaneously hit another orange every time. It just doesn't make sense that this reaction is going to happen from this reaction. There's just too much space for the hormone to run into the next hormone or to cause the reactionary process to happen. So to understand what we're talking about here is we're talking about how the neurology or the communication literally leads to instantaneously changing the body, physically, emotionally, and chemically, by causing it to adapt. And the key for every human being or everybody is adaptation. If we can adapt, we heal. That's the goal. If we can't adapt, that's when we grow sickness. Now, to look at this, we can look at just simple decay models of how the body works, or how even matter works. So what's the general concept in physics that everything becomes more random? Do you guys remember what that's called?
Chaos theory or something?
And entropy, right? Entropy, chaos. So how does that work? Well, what that means is that only things that have intelligence in them can be ordered. Something that has no intelligent design or has no intelligence behind it cannot be ordered. So what happens is, if you just look at something like, say, a rock, and you just start talking about it, through time, it starts getting broken down and pieces fall off. The atoms start to fall away. That's what, like, let's look at metal. How does metal turn into rust? It loses atoms, and then it's not as strong, and it starts to fall apart. If we understand that the body rusts as well, and the way we rust is called oxidation or oxidative stress, that if we can't adapt properly, that's when we have a mutation or a change in the cell structure itself. So how this literally works to the atomic level is that the nerve communication to the cell affects the atomic structure of every molecule. So what does that mean? It means the rivulet of communication, you can call it a mental impulse, you can call it light, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but that piece of information communicating through the brain, down the spinal cord, out into the cells, determines how the body heals and how the body reacts. So let's think about this. What were we taught in school is the smallest thing. We got a nucleus, and the electrons going around it, and they orbit, right? And then there's different layers of orbits. What's controlling that cell to stay in its orbit? We're taught this is what it is, but it doesn't tell us why it stays the same way. What's controlling that is that intelligence. And when that innate intelligence actually communicates properly, it says, I want you to rotate at XYZ hertz. What I've been taught is the resonant frequency of the human body and each organ determines how the body actually heals. What that means is, that's why you can have a stem cell and a frequency will go into it, and then it will turn into a liver cell. And then a different frequency, it's a little higher, a little lower, will make a different organ or a different cell. It's literally the frequency being put in by the nerve tells the cell what to turn into. So it causes it to express itself in the right way. Now the problem with this is this. What happens when you have a subluxation? That subluxation is that miscommunication. What happens if I tell the cell to overstimulate, or tell one electron to overstimulate? If you remember this from simple chemistry or physics, it'll cause that electron to gain energy and be thrown off. Now, if we throw off an electron, does that change the structure of that molecule? Yes. That will cause that cell to start to decay because it's not made up of properly made structures, aka it'll start to fall apart. What if we have the cell being told to slow down? The same thing can happen because the electron only has to spin at one specific energy frequency. If it goes up or down, it will lose an electron and it will throw it off. So that balance is what determines how the atom is formed, and then atoms go into matter, and then, or not matter, into cells, and then cells will go into organs, and organs into systems, and systems into the body. So you literally affect the atomic level of the cell or the structure by having the body communicate properly. This is why when I adjust you, and this is what a lot of people see, is the tone of the body changes. You become more energized. It's because you're reminding the cells to resonate at the right frequency, and they can heal. Now, if this isn't working correctly, the cardinal sign of disease is fatty degeneration. So what does that mean? If the cell isn't working right, it will turn into fat. That's the fail-safe. So it turns into fat. That's why we get fatty livers, fatty kidneys, fat, all these different things, they turn into fat. Because it's told, well, let's just go to the fail-safe mode, let's turn it into fat. And then there's different cardinal signs, it'll go through the different layers, but that's the first one. So if it turns into that, that means it's not being able to resonate at the right frequency, it's slowed down, and we're not healthy. And a tangible thing that most people look at is, if you look at somebody in the face, and they're all white, what do we say they are?
Pale.
Pale. Are they healthy or sick?
pasty or whatever.
They're sick, right? How do we know just because you're white you're sick?
Because you don't have
Circulation's
color.
not-
Circulation.
You don't have that
Well,
energy, right?
Yeah.
That energy is not flowing. So we as a species know if somebody's pale, they're sick. How about if somebody's beaming?
Wow.
They're healthy. What are we looking at? We're innately looking at the energy the body is producing. We're innately looking at how are we vibrating? How fast are our cells moving? And the cell movement determines how healthy we are. The thing is when you look at the body and you look at the purely energetic form of it, this is when it starts to get really trippy. Is that if you get to the atomic structure, we're not actually made out of anything tangible. What we actually are is a vortexy of of cells vibrating at a really, really high speed. And the speed of that resonance or that frequency determines the orientation of the matter. Just like the speed of the frequency of water determines the formation of it. So if it's resonating really slow or moving really slow, it's ice. Really, really faster level, it's water. And then really, really fast, it's steam. The speed at which the cell vibrates or the speed at which the body resonates at determines the function of the tissue. So why am I talking about all this quantum physics and out there stuff?
Because you didn't want to talk about arthritis.
That's true.
I know.
Because I love it. Because literally what we're dealing with is changing the body. Now, when you look at my profession, the word subluxation actually means less light. And the word literally means less light. So my job as a chiropractor is to bring more light into your body. Now, light is a high frequency vibratory force. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is my job is to increase the communication flow. My job is to change the way the body actually works. And when you look at the body that way, you can think about, well, why did they show halos over very, very spiritual and religious
High
people in the
frequency
past?
people, yeah.
Because they're really high frequency and they're up there and they're bringing the light.
It's also very significant in another organization that
Very
I
cool.
can't talk
Very
about.
cool. So what I'm saying is my job is not popping bones. My job is not removing pain. My job is bringing energy into the system by allowing the brain to communicate to itself so that it can upregulate its body's function so you can adapt to the environment. And when you adapt correctly, then you don't get whatever you want to see on television. This itis, that disease, this restless, that, whatever. It's all just a bunch of B. It really doesn't mean anything. All it is somebody telling you what you told them in Latin and then charging you $250 and giving you something that'll make the symptom not be there. It doesn't mean you get better. Because we all know that if I take something to make the symptom go away and I stop taking it, the symptom comes back. So did we actually get rid of the cause, or did we just get rid of the problem? And how I explain this to my people are, if I step on a dog's tail, where's the noise? On the mouth, right? On the other side of the dog. So if I was going to be a symptom treater, I would make the dog shut up. Because the dog, the symptom, the pain, the ache, the disease is the problem. No, the problem is my foot being on the tail. And with that analogy, what we're talking about is, where's the problem? Where's the communication? Where's the lack of light? Where's the lack of healing coming from? All of it comes from the brain. And when the brain communicates correctly, then your body heals. They've literally done studies where they've hooked the brain up of rabbits and it can run a light bulb. The problem is that if you run it for long enough, the body dies because that energy can't go anywhere.
What do you mean?
So it literally takes that innate intelligence
Just
that
sucking it out
producing.
of it?
Yeah. It's literally, you hook the brain up to a
Yeah.
light bulb, and the light bulb is using the energy instead of the energy going to the body.
It's draining it from the body.
Yes. And then after 3 days, the rabbits die. So if you even, we can even talk about this, and I know this isn't a good reference, but look at the Matrix, and they talk about the brain being a 9-volt battery. It's exactly the same thing. It's
Well, yeah,
literally
'cause you
producing.
say the battery recharges at night, right?
Exactly. So
Well,
if you
that
can't
makes sense.
recharge your body because the producer is the brain and it's not communicating properly, then we grow disease. And that's what disease is. And the problem is if we base our health on where disease runs, we're going down the wrong path. We've been doing this for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. We've always been trying to treat the body from without or outside. We've always used pills, potions, lotions, put stuff on, take stuff out. And we're even better at it now, but the problem is we're killing ourselves quicker than ever before. In this country, depending on the year, we use between 95 to 99% of all the painkillers in the world.
Oh my God.
Just depends on the year. It just fluctuates up and down. And then you start looking at all the drugs. Our country is 5% of the world's population, and we take 60 to 65% of the meds. We're over-medicated. The problem with that is what does that medication do? It interferes with the intelligence. Do we know anybody that lives longer because of a drug? No, seriously. If you do, tell me. I'd love to know. Because drugs do one of two things, and it's this simple. They either inhibit something or they turn it up.
No, you're not talking about natural supplements at all.
I'm talking about just drugs.
Medicine.
They either turn stuff off or turn stuff up and make it overstimulate or understimulate. That's all a stimulant will do or a drug will do. Over or understimulate. So based on that idea, then if the thyroid's working too quick, we gotta slow it down. If it's working too fast, we gotta speed it up. Here's the problem. Who decides what's normal? Who decides what the general idea is? When I started school, cholesterol was supposed to be at between 160 and 140 was the high level. Now I hear numbers of 100. Who decides what's normal? Have we, as a species, have humans changed in 10 to 15 years, so much so that our cholesterol levels just need to change? It doesn't make any sense. And when you look at the numbers of what average is and what you're supposed to be by normal standards, the problem is it's an average of 1,000 people. So it doesn't tell us anything. And that's why I love to talk about a thing called allostasis. And what allostasis is the ability to adapt to the specific environment you're in. So if I go outside and it's cold and raining, and I can't adapt correctly and make my body core temperature come up higher and higher and higher and higher and higher,
You shiver.
I'm gonna have problems. Shivering is an adaptation, exactly.
Oh, so shivering is an adaptation
Exactly. So
as
what-
opposed to a reaction.
Yes, shivering is an adaptation that's correct. So if I go outside and it's really cold, my body needs to produce a large quantity of energy to keep my body healthy and hot. So what it does is it causes friction by causing the myosin and actin bridges to grind, to move past each other. So that's the muscle itself. And as a byproduct, what does friction make?
Heat.
That's what shivering does. We make heat as a byproduct. So we shiver, we get the byproduct of heat, and it keeps us warm enough so we don't die.
What about goosebumps? What are those?
That's raising the hair on your skin so you can keep the air around you closer so it won't go away and the heat will stay closer to you. So it's like if you watch animals, they do the same thing. Their hair raises up so they can keep the heat around them. So it's an adaptation. All of these are proper adaptations. And if they're done correctly, you stay healthy. If they're done incorrectly, you grow a dysfunction. And if you grow a dysfunction long enough, then you grow what's called a dis-ease, dis-ease. So ease is health, dysfunction, dis-ease, a lack of health or a lack of relaxation, and then if dis-ease stays there long enough, you become diseased. That means a disease. It's not working correctly. That's the one aspect. The other aspect is going, okay, why did the body do it? Why is it not working correctly? Why is something not adapting correctly? Why does one person get exposed? Like this literally happened in Chernobyl. Why can you have a pair of twins in Chernobyl, same genetics, one gets cancer and the other one doesn't, and they're sleeping side by side?
This one was
One has
healthier.
subluxations.
Yeah, one could adapt and the other one couldn't. Why is that adaptation? It's that innate intelligence. It's that ability for the body to heal itself. When it can heal itself and adapt, then you're fine. If it can't, your body gets sick. The whole concept that bacteria and viruses cause disease is ludicrous. And the reason why I say this is you have in your mouth right now between 6 to 18 different bacteria and viruses. So why are you not sick? Why are you not dying? Why is it not killing you? Literally, this stuff goes through your blood system all the time. And this is why we see it the way it is. Bacteria has one specific job. And its job is to eat away or decay dead tissue. So you can see this in people, and this is the best the best concept I have for people, is you will see people that will always get a right kidney infection or a left kidney infection all the time. Now, doesn't the blood go to both of them? Doesn't both kidney get the same amount of stimuli of the problem? Why does one always get sick and not the other one?
Because it's disconnected.
Correct,
It's a
yeah, exactly.
subluxation.
That subluxation, that disconnection, the inability for the life force to communicate the organ is there. And as a byproduct, every 9 months when you're supposed to remake the tissue, it's not remaking it right. So what does the bacteria do? There's dead tissue there. I'm going to come do my job. Let's go eat up the dead tissue. Saying that the bacteria cause disease is akin to saying firefighters cause fires because they're always there when a fire shows up. It literally doesn't make any sense. Their job is to get rid of the bad stuff. Does that make sense? Yeah? When you look at it, what you need to understand is if I'm healthy, the bacteria doesn't need to do anything. If I'm healthy, the virus can't do anything to me. Literally, we're in an age right now where we've overused antibiotics, and antibiotics are not working anymore. They're stopping to work. That's where these MRSAs and there's different things are coming from. Because here's the thing most people don't understand. The bacteria have intelligence too. They adapt all the time too. So they're going to change as well. Unless we allow our bodies to get healthier and expose our bodies to these different problems and pathogens and antigens, we won't get healthy. And that's why we see the sickest people ever are the ones that live in bubbles. The little bubble boys and bubble girls. Because they're not exposed to any of the problems, the bacteria, the pathogens and stuff. So if they can't adapt, then anytime they're exposed to anything, they get sick. Your immune system is literally taught to adapt to things. Do you think it's by accident that God made every baby walk around and stuff stuff in their mouth all the time? It's literally them priming their immune system to get through life. It's not by accident. That's literally what we're supposed to do, is prime it. We're supposed to go through specific reactionary processes. We're supposed to get a respiratory infection. We're supposed to get a mouth and poopy infection, we'll call it that way. We're supposed to have these things happen. And when they happen, the biggest thing that annoys me is when a little boy or girl gets a teething thing going on. So they start teething, and what happens is the simple squamous cells they're a form of tissue that are in the mouth are the exact same neurological ones activated by the ones in the rectum. So guess what they start getting is diaper rash. And it's a byproduct of the body's ability to react. So they get the reaction because their teeth are cutting through, and then what happens? The bacteria can get in, and then they get to deal with it. They get to deal with life, and they get to adapt. If you look at this, and I know this is anecdotal information, but if you look at the healthiest people, it's always the ones that have the kids that put as much crap in their mouths as possible. And that's literally what you see. And you say, well, they have a strong immunity and a weak immunity. Okay. Well, what is immunity? What exactly is it? We watch stuff on TV and we're told it's the bacteria we eat from yogurt. That's a little tiny bit of it. What immunity is you're literally, and your immune system is every single system in the body working correctly. That means the nerve system has to talk to the muscles so we can shiver and increase our temperature. And if we increase it high enough, guess what it does? The bacteria and the viruses that can live in us can only live in us in a finite space. It's between 1 to 2 degrees. So if we increase our body temperature high enough, it will lyse or destroy the cells. The next thing we can do is, why do we have nostril hairs? This stops stuff from getting in. Why do we have mucus? Stops stuff from getting in. Why do we have skin, which is the biggest immune protector we have? It stops everything from getting in. Why do we sweat? Stops stuff from getting in. Why do we have any function in our body? Is to stop stuff from getting in. We're naturally made to be healthy. That's that intelligence. But yet we go from another end and think that if we put stuff in, it'll make us healthier. And the problem is, when we do that, we start messing with how the body actually reacts and how the body actually heals. We're only supposed to be exposed to so many different viruses at a specific time. We were never made to be exposed to 3 or 4 huge bacteria or huge viruses or huge disease processes where it goes right through our body's ability to communicate and protect itself. So the only way stuff's supposed to be able to get into us is through our nose and our lungs and our digestive tract. But if we go right through the skin and inject stuff into ourselves, then the protective barriers are not there anymore. And because they're not there anymore, they lead to problems. That's not allowing our innate or our inborn immune system to work properly. And then because we don't actually grow it properly, we get exposed to it again and then we get sick. I won't go too far down that path. I don't like that path. But what I want you guys to really understand is that intelligence within us is what actually heals us and takes care of us. That every 9 months, if we're connected to source, which is our brain's ability to connect and heal our body and be balanced, then we'll heal ourselves. And the true health comes from within. The big takeaway I want you guys to understand is that you heal each other from yourselves. I don't heal anybody. All I do is allow that intelligence to communicate properly, and you take over and do the miracles. And that's why you guys can come in, and I can adjust, say, your neck, and your low back pain will go away. I can adjust your neck, and your toe problem will go away. I can adjust your neck, and anything else will go away. Because everything starts in source, at the brain. But if it can't communicate properly, that's when we'll start growing dysfunction and disease. And then when it can't adapt correctly, that's when we start getting sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. Now, what stops us from being able to adapt? There's 3 impulses or inputs that'll stop us. They're the 3 T's. Do you want to say them, Ms. Donna?
Trauma, thoughts, and toxins.
Trauma, toxins, and thoughts. Exactly. Now, how can a thought make you sick? Well, how do you feel after your girlfriend or boyfriend breaks up with you? Are you pretty healthy?
Sometimes it's a good thing.
Sometimes it's a good thing.
Nope, because that
No.
leads to other stuff.
So, when we look at it, what happens is that emotional stress will cause your body to what's called hemisphereize. That means one part of your brain will become stronger and the other one won't be as strong. And the easy way to think of this is is what have we all been taught? What kind of brains do women usually have? A right brain or a left brain?
Right.
Right brain. That's correct 80% of the time. And a man usually has a right brain or a left brain.
Left.
Left brain. So when you're stressed out, do men usually start talking about emotions and the future?
No.
No, they start talking about the past and what's going on, and they're just trying to get the brain to take over. So they go to left brain dominant thinking. They go to analytical. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to go A, B, C, D, and we're going to get things done. And that's how a man works. So he's going to go left brain dominant. A female, on the other hand, is going to think more outside of the box. But she's also going to think more into the future, and that's why they stress out more. Because we're going to think more about what could happen. If you're a right brain dominant person, you think of the future and the present. If you're a left brain dominant person, you think of the past and the present. And that's why when you have two left brain dominant people, aka men, what do they talk about?
Football.
That football game when I was in grade 10 or 12 or whatever, blah, 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 and they talk about what they know because they're left brain dominant. Whereas the females are going to talk about more of the future related things, what they're going to be doing, where things are going to be headed. Now when the person gets stuck in that one brain hemisphere, they need to stimulate the other one. So if they're stuck in left brain dominance because they have to deal with crazy stuff all day, let's say I do. I'm a left brain dominant person. I'm stuck in that because I'm dealing with X, Y, Z, and I gotta figure everything out and I gotta make things work. I'm the quintessential guy. What do I need to do to allow my brain to relax? It's not talk and it's not listen, because that's left brain work.
Go to the gym, watch TV.
Exactly. We're going to do exercises. We're going to go to the gym. We're going to do something. The easiest thing to do is actually the television, because that stimulates right brain stuff. It stimulates artistic things. You're going to relax. It actually puts you, based on the neuroinfinity, the neurological stuff I do, it actually puts you right into theta and alpha. So the problem with that is that if you're in that brain function and you fall asleep, or if you're right there, it puts you into relaxation mode where you can heal. You become a vegetable. It can actually access your subconscious and put the wrong programs into your brain too. So with a man, that's why he wants to come home and turn on the TV and drink a beer. But the female who's been stressed out all day, she's in right brain dominant, so she wants to stimulate her left brain. So what does that mean?
She wants to talk.
I want to talk to you, and we're going to listen, and we're going to have a good old day. Now, the problem with that is the guy doesn't want to do that because that's going to overload him and make him freak out. But the woman wants to get rid of all the energy, so she has to do something. And this is why two women, if they're stressed out, can go out and talk to each other for hours on end, and everything's good. Two men are stressed out, we're hitting golf balls, and we're not saying a thing. Is because it literally is how the brain needs to balance itself. Now there's easier ways to balance yourself than just talking or hitting golf balls and things like that. There's actually ways through doing neuro and biofeedback to actually stimulate your brain so that you'll become balanced. And when your brain becomes balanced, your IQ increases, your ability to deal with stress increases, and your body heals. So why do I tell you this? Because that's that intelligence working correctly. When your brain is balanced, it means it can work equally on both sides of your body and make you come back to whole. That intelligence is the key to the whole chiropractic profession. The whole profession of health and healing is to understand that we, as so-called educated people, make mistakes every year in what the body actually needs. Because what we thought was perfect today, we're suing people tomorrow for.
You think about the drugs and all the different.
All the stuff on TV, if you look at it, how many people are having, if you have this hip replacement, if you have this mesh, if you have this drug, if you have this, yeah, exactly. And it's, the reason why they do this is because there's so many people injured by it because it doesn't work.
Well, there's so many people taking it while they're doing it.
100%. And there's different videos. One of the really good one is, it's called Bot, and it explains some of the stuff with the drug companies. But the simplistic way of doing it, and I heard this directly from a pharmaceutical rep's mouth, is that we sell the drug until it's not profitable. So it doesn't matter if it hurts you. It's about how much profit are we making. That's scary. That's really scary. Because we in our society are taught that, well, the drug company and the doctor, they're looking out for me. They're caring about me. They really want me to get healthy. And the scary thing is that we as a society have been tricked into believing that taking this pill is the answer instead of depending on ourselves. That we are a victim instead of understanding that health comes from within us. The difference is that if you understand health comes from you guys, that's where the big change happens. That's where you guys will come over and empower yourselves. Because an empowered individual is hard to change. But a disempowered person is real easy told to do what you want to do. Listen to me, I know best. You know, 4 out of 5 doctors smoke Camels, because Camels must be good. It's the same thing. The authority is telling us what to do instead of us understanding that we're the authority on our health. Most people, if you talk to them, know why they got cancer. They say, I got cancer because I was angry at my husband. I got cancer because of this. I got cancer because of that. And then they're told they're stupid. And that's not the answer. That little thing that keeps gnawing at you or wakes you up at 3 in the morning, that's that innate intelligence. That's that thing telling you that this is how you need to do to heal yourself. That's that thing telling you this is how you heal. When you understand that you guys have the answers and you guys are the ones that can take care of yourselves, then that's when you'll change your lives. That's when everything will become simplistic to you. And when you know, what do I feel the answer really is? What do I think is actually causing the problem? And I'm usually right. And when I say I, it means me personally. And you guys usually know personally as well. So as long as you do not release the authority to somebody else that's a figurehead, and understand that the goal of a good doctor is to empower you, then you'll understand where you want to go with life. Then you'll understand what kind of practitioners you want to go to. Now, don't get me wrong, these symptom trainers are really good at keeping you alive if you get shot or stabbed or hit by a car or anything like that. And that's what they're made for. They're called acute care providers. They're really, really, really good at that. But keeping you healthy doesn't work. Because what's working for the short term does not work for the long term. And the same thing happens with the body if it's not able to communicate properly. Is a short-term adaptation for stress along to a long-term disease process if we're stuck in it for a long period of time. And that sympathetic tone or that sympathetic problem is what I'm going to talk next to you guys about on one of the next talks that I do, okay? Do you have any questions? Cool. I'm done.